Thanks, Bill. Okay, I am on. I can hear myself. First, thanks to the elders who let me take this opportunity. We're back in town for a couple of weeks. As Bill said, I work for the federal government, so I had an opportunity for 3 years to go to Germany. How do you turn that down? So that's what we've been doing. It's a pleasure to be here. I know Deanna's been back a couple times. I haven't been back here in 2.5 years, so it's heartwarming to be here to see everybody. Thanks for coming. As Bill said, had opportunity, it was in April, to visit the Ivory Coast. And sorry, I just noticed I'm getting it's interesting. Translating, yeah, I see that. Anyway, sorry I get distracted there. So next slide, let's see. All right, so very briefly, for those, many of you know of this organization, and some of you have supported in the past and still support it, and thank you for that support. 2017, God laid in my heart to start something. I see it as something bigger than myself. I was supporting a native Bengali, Joseph Baidia, for several years, who goes out into the tribal regions, works there, does a lot of stuff in the most densely populated city in the world in Bangladesh, and so it's the fourth largest Muslim country. And so I've been supporting him for years, and then February 2017, God laid in my heart to start something bigger myself, and that became Mission 2819, something focused strictly on the Great Commission, something to spread the kingdom, and that's what this is. 2021, we expanded. Again, just doors opened, and took on Ivory Coast. And you can see the other support we do up there. If you want to know more about the organization, you can talk to me afterward, but when I gave this talk, we attend a church in Germany. It's an awesome church, it's very small. But the interesting thing, there's 13 home countries represented in this church. There's maybe 30 members, 20 to 30, probably 20 on an average basis. But there's 13 home countries represented in this church. The preacher is American, but he's been in Germany for a long time. He auto-translates himself. He'll speak in English and speak in German at the same, back and forth. So it's a very enriching experience. Many of the members are from Africa as well, so it's very interesting to talk to them. So again, if you want to know more about Mission 2019, happy to talk. But I gave this talk there, and I spoke for an hour and a half. I'm told I only have 45 minutes here, so I'm going to get with it. So in 2021, I was feeling moved to expand beyond just Bangladesh. A lot of reasons for that. At the same time, I got an email from some guy. Had no idea who he was. He could have been a Nigerian prince after money. I don't know. But he reached out and said, this is the work he's wanting to do, and he's looking for sponsors. He goes by Germ. His name's Akami Asimin. And he laid out for me what he did, all this, and I had this doubt. Who is this guy? I had no idea who he was. And Bill's been involved in Mission 2019 since the beginning also, and so I had a lot of people look at the stuff he was sending, the work he wanted to do. He sent his resume, everything. And it really lined up with exactly what God had laid out that we wanted to do and go. It's just, how do I take that step of faith and say, I'm going to give you money. I'm going to support you, what you're doing. Never met the guy, had no idea. And again, we all know the Nigerian prince thing, and that's what it felt like to me. But I said, okay, God, we're going to, after consulting with a lot of people, we said, we're going to trust that this is right. Just the pieces seem to be falling in, so we're going to support this mission work. Had to take that leap of faith that we were really investing God's money right. So since 2021, I've been supporting Germ. He goes out into the Agni tribal regions, and similar to what Joseph's doing, goes out and ministers to the Agni tribes. He's wanting to build churches in these areas. And so we started supporting him. I never met him before. And up here, it kind of shows some of the stuff he did. So if you don't know where Côte d'Ivoire is, Ivory Coast, it's in Western Africa. It's on the coast, obviously, Ivory Coast. It used to be a major ivory production, elephants harvesting, and so they don't have elephants anymore as much anymore, unfortunately. But that's where the name comes from. It's next to Ghana. Bill's son went to Ghana recently on a mission trip. Some of you are probably aware of that. It's next to Ghana. People like to go to Ghana because they're English speaking. Côte d'Ivoire is French speaking, and many of them don't speak English, which was an experience myself. I used to be able to speak French a long time ago, not anymore. But anyway, since 2021, I've been supporting this guy. I had no idea who he is, really. But I trusted God that this was the right thing to do. So in April, I am on the right slide, right? Oh, sorry. If I forget slides, tell me. If I start talking like I'm on a different slide, just let me know. So I'll give you a minute to look at that. That's what I was talking about. So there's the Ivory Coast. That's Germ. The picture on the right, he was given land, and he was working on building a church in Abbey, an area. And okay, there you go. So Ivory Coast, Abidjan is here. It's the capital. And then this is one of the tribal regions that I'll learn more about. And this is just some of the work. He provide medical supplies to this lady, this grandmother. But again, this is the stuff that he was doing before I even met him. All right, there we go. So earlier this year, I saw a window opportunity to go down to Ivory Coast, and it's a little bit cheaper to fly from Europe than from here. And so I contacted Germ. I said, Germ, I have an opportunity between March and April to come down and visit. Is there a time that would not work for you? And he says, perfect. I'm hosting all the church leaders April 16th to the 18th. You will be our guest presenter. That was about my response. I said, Germ, I don't speak French. That's okay. You come, you be our guest speaker. 3 days, we'll allocate you 2 hours per day to speak. Okay, let me go back to my question. Is there a time that won't work for me to come? Anyway, so that set the date that I'm going down to this seminar he's doing with all the church leaders. I said, how many people are coming? He said, over 50. And none of them speak English. Great. God, now's the time for you to let me start speaking in tongues. So the date's wrong up there. It was actually April. So it was planned for the 12th to the 20th of April. And this was my purpose, very simply. I just got to meet this guy and confirm that what we're really supporting. Who is this guy? I want to get to know him and his lifestyle. I want to visit the Agni tribal regions to see what he's doing, to see his work. But bottom line is, I just need to get there and confirm this, meet him, confirm everything, and that this leap of faith that we took was actually the right decision, that it truly was a God-inspired decision. So a little bit about Germ. This is him, and this picture is interesting. I love this picture because this is when they dropped me back off at the airport at the end, and I'll tell you a little bit more about their transportation in a minute, but that is their best clothes that they wear. And so they put on their best clothes to see me off. So Germ, that's his Christian name that he adopted when he started his ministry. His name is actually Akami Asamin. He is actually Agni tribe from the Imbato town, and I'll show you a map in a second. A couple years ago, he married Felicity, who's from Krinjabu, which is the capital of Sanwi, one of the Agni regions. He calls her Life. I asked him, it doesn't make sense to me even still, but he calls her Life instead of, so he adopted this name for her. So if I say Felicity or Life, same person, I'm not going to explain why he came up with Life, but it's an interesting story. So they married in 2023, and she is very dedicated to this mission as well. And again, I'm going to repeat, she's from Krinjabu. That becomes important in a minute. So Germ is actually an engineer trained to do surveys, and he uses his work. So he no longer works as a career. He's fully dedicated to this mission and whatever money they get. Felicity is like a social worker. So just to give you an idea so Abidjan, or Côte d'Ivoire is actually a fairly poor country. I didn't realize how poor it was. Felicity earns $300 a month for her work, and then whatever he gets for his work. But a lot of his work, his income, he doesn't draw money, he draws land. And so imagine living off about $300 to $500 a month. That's what they do, somewhere in that region. And that's very common. So briefly on the Agni people. Many centuries ago, there were tribes in the Nile Valley that migrated western across Africa. They stopped at various points. The Agni people made it all the way to Côte d'Ivoire and settled there. There's about 1.2 million spread across multiple kingdoms. Sanwi is an important kingdom. It's over in the southeast corner. That's where one region that Germ's doing his work at. Traditionally, they were mystics, the Achim religion, but since the 20th century, many of them have converted to Christianity. And the kingdom of Saint-Louis, again, the capital is Crinjabu, where Felicity is from. And it was established around 1740. And this is me, obviously, but I'm at the gate of the royal palace of the king of Saint-Louis. Yes, that's Michael Jackson. In 1992, he was crowned Prince in Waiting of Saint-Louis. I'll tell the story in a minute, but through odd circumstances, I'm standing right here, next thing I know, I'm having an audience with the king of Saint-Louis. That's the king of Saint-Louis. I took this picture. I wasn't supposed to. Forgive me, king. I snuck it because whoa, did I do that?
No, I'll zoom in for you.
Oh, okay. Wow, a lot of things have changed. So that's the king. This picture, because it was he never takes spontaneous meetings. I didn't ask for it. I'll just go ahead and tell you the story. We're standing there. I want to go Crinjabu. We get out of the cab. We're standing at the gate. I'm taking a selfie. That's me taking a selfie. A dude comes walking up, says, "You want to meet with the king?" It's like, did I hear that right? He says, "Yeah, you want to meet with the king?" How do you answer that question? Yeah? Sure. Okay. So come in. So now we're going inside that gate. And we sit there for an hour waiting for the king. And he instructs me on all these like weird arm motions and everything I had to do when I got in, bowing, all sorts of stuff when I got in the presence of the king. So I said, okay. So finally we make it there, and I'm sitting in there's couch, the exact seat that Michael Jackson sat in when he met with the king. I still to this day have no idea why I met with the king, but I did. And we ended up making a covenant of friendship while we were there. So it was quite an experience. All right, so this is Côte d'Ivoire. These are the key areas I want you to remember, and I'm going to quiz you on the names later. So this is Abidjan, the capital. North here, this is, I don't know, this may be a 20-minute drive on normal traffic and about a 2-hour drive in Abidjan traffic. But this up here is Anyama. That's where Germ and Felicity live. I stayed down here, which is about where the U.S. Embassy is. I'll show you a little bit better picture in a minute. This is one region. This is where Germ's doing a lot of his work at. This is Crinjabu. And then this is Aboiso, Asuba, Sumi, and Nomo. And then up here is another region, Banguano, and then Mbato. That's where Germ's from. This is where Felicity's from originally. And this whole region is all Agni, just different tribes and different towns and stuff. So, you ready to repeat the names? All right, let me take you through my itinerary, what I planned. Nothing. I had no plans for this trip. I told Germ, I said, you planned out. I'm just coming. You take me where you want. You do what you want. I had no idea what I was doing from day to day, which was fine. I just let him guide everything. So, day one, I arrived at the airport, and they met us. This is the first time I met him. So that's our first meeting, which is pretty cool to actually see he really existed. From there, we went to, he took us to my lodging. So he met me at the airport. Y'all probably have the same image in mind that I did, that they came down and just like we would and picked up the airport ticket. No. So they're up that north area. They don't have a car. They can't afford a car. They use taxis and public transportation. But public transportation isn't like a bus or anything you're thinking either. So the taxis aren't formal taxis either. People driving cars, you stand on the side of the road and you go, and they pull over and you argue with them in French how much they're going to pay you to take you somewhere. That's the taxi system. The public transportation are these buses, 20-pax buses, that drive around, and you flag those down, and you climb in them, and they actually go from point to point. You just climb in them and go, so they're constantly stopping, picking people up and going. And you get in them 20-pax bus with probably 40 people in them. That's how they travel around. So to come pick me up at the airport, they took 4 different taxis, or public transportation, whichever way, to get down to the airport to pick me up, and then we grabbed another taxi to go to my lodging location, which I showed you. So he chose the lodging, and it was in a place called SIL. It's a missions organization, translates Bibles into the tribal languages. So this is SIL, the building where I stayed, and this is their Bible in about 50 different tribal languages. They translate them to them. And the town was in right next to a Agni village. So they congregate together. So around Abidjan, there's Agni villages also. So it was right next to one of the Agni villages. And so we went there. They took me to dinner, and we had attiqué poisson, a very popular dish. Attiqué is like not rice, but it's made out of cassava. It's like a mush type stuff that they squeeze together and eat it. It's pretty good. Poisson is French for fish. So they get this meal, and they give me this fish, beautiful fish, and they have one. I said, "Are you getting one?" They said, "No, this is ours." So they shared one while they gave me a big one. They gave me the big portion because I was the guest. Then keep that in mind. Then after dinner, he took me over to meet Marceline and Emily. How many of you would open your front door to your own house and just tell everybody to come, whether you know them or not? Come in, pray. We'll pray with you. We'll hold church. In Côte d'Ivoire, they can't afford church. You'll see some churches, but not a lot. They do house churches, true first-century house churches. They literally open their front door, and anybody who comes in for church is going to have church. Anybody who just wants to pray, they'll come in and pray. That's what these 2 ladies do at their house. They just open their door, and they have church. So I got to meet them and spend time with them. So that ended day 1. Day 2, Jerm says, "Let me go show you Abidjan." We go to Plateau, which is a central region. There's some pictures down here. And after about 10 minutes, I was like, "Okay, what's next?" Not much. So he said, "Let's go meet some church leaders." I said, "Great, that's what I'm here for." So we went and met 2 church leaders. Prudence Kwame, so he leads a house church in North Abidjan. Again, house church. We go in his living room, and that's where the church is. So this is Kwame. That's his wife, who cooked attiqué poisson for me. And the biggest fish. Everybody else had the smallest fish. I had the biggest fish. I'm like having nightmares about attiqué poisson right now. This is his cute little grandkids, and the putting the thing on their head became real for me pretty quick. But it was funny that she was doing that. So each time, so we're sitting there, and again, Prudence speaks some English, and Jerm says, "He's come with a message for you." I said, "I have?" Okay, so we spoke, and I talked about the work that we're doing across the world and everything else, and then we prayed together, and then we had attiqué poisson in his house, and he had no issues. He had no idea who I was. Had no issues opening his home to me. So then we left there and went to meet Doda Toure. This is Doda up here. He actually has a church building that he holds church in. This is in the West. So he's got an interesting story. He was actually born Muslim, Muslim parents in northern Ivory Coast. In 1995, he converted to Christianity after he watched a movie about Jesus. He saw a movie, and that convinced him. And, of course, his parents disowned him and everything else that goes along with that. But he really converted after he saw the movie, and he went and talked to a preacher, and the preacher showed him John 14:6. We all should know what that is, but it's up there if you don't. "I am the way, truth, and life," and that converted him. So now he leads a church. So you never know who you're reaching when you talk to people. Day 3 started the real adventure. He says, "We're going to take a bus out to the Boiso area." I said, "Okay." So we meet at this bus station. He takes a taxi down. Let me back up. They dropped me off at SIL about after dinner and all that type of stuff about 9 p.m. I'm thinking he's getting home at 10 p.m. At 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, he messaged me. He said, "We made it home okay." I'm like, wait, that was 3 hours ago. That's how long it took them to get up to there by their transportation mode. by the way. Keep that in mind. That's how he travels. I'm like, I'm going to rent a car, make this easy, but then I remembered what I wanted to do there. I wanted to experience his life, not my life. And so that's how we started moving around. So we take this bus. He brings the taxi down to get me. We take the taxi over to the bus station. The bus station was the craziest place I've ever seen in the world. It's just, you just get on a bus and go. And this is the bus station up here. So it's about 500 people all trying to get on buses to go wherever they're going. And there's a market there, and these ladies, mostly ladies, carrying things around on their head to sell to you. It's kind of quite an experience. Anyway, so we take this bus, which was crammed, and small seats, crammed, and I can get motion sick sometimes, so it wasn't real good. And they stuck me in the back of the bus. And so we take this, what would have been maybe an hour drive, 45-minute drive, about a 2+ hour bus ride out to the Boyso area, way out here to the east area. There he had set up for me to meet all the church leaders from around that area, and that's a picture of them here. So they all have house churches or individual church, but then they have this like committee that gets together to discuss the region and all this type of stuff. So I got set in front of them. None of them spoke English, and delivered my message. By this point, after being caught off guard that I brought a message, I actually wrote something out and then translated it to French so Jerome could help translate it. But it just talked about, just bringing blessings to them. And I try to model after the Apostle Paul and how he wrote to the letters. And so each time I met with these people then, that's what we were doing. So I'd give them that message. They would talk. Jerome's also drumming up support for his work. And then we would pray together. And it's quite a blessing to be there and pray with them. So this lady here has a rural property. We went out to it. And this is actually her church here. Now, we're talking this town. This is Asuba. Sorry, the top. This is a common town right here. Notice there's no pavement, nothing. There's one pavement that goes out there, and everything else is dirt. Abidjan, I thought it'd be a bigger city. But it has main roads, and then even the communities are all dirt after that. They don't have paved roads. And then the dirt isn't just dirt. It's potholed, rock-encrusted, boulders going all over. So these taxi rides are quite fun. It's like a roller coaster everywhere you go. So Asuba, this is where we were, is one of the main towns, and it looks like that. So now you go from there out to, we jumped into what are those things called? Tuk-tuk? A tuk-tuk. To get out to this property, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. I'm out in the middle of the jungle at this point. These people I don't know, and just trusting God that this is all good and right. So we go out to, it was about a 10-minute ride from that downtown area out to her property. It was a beautiful property, but she's got a church out here. So out in the middle of nowhere, every week, about 50 people show up for this church. And this is the inside of it. Also on her property, she's building an orphanage, much needed orphanage. And I said, how long is it going to take? She says, I don't know. Whenever I get money, I add on to it. I continue to build on it. So someday that's going to be a fully operational orphanage. It's got the bones right now. She gave me a tour of it. And then she hosted me to lunch. Guess what I had for lunch? It was a beautiful setting. And it was funny at this point because they made sure, they didn't realize that we burn, right? So I'm like hiding and from the sun, because the sun's intense. And so they moved their table, it was only a plastic table, but not a big deal. They moved the table into the shade for me. They were just going to sit in the sun, they don't care. They moved it into the shade for me. And it became a topic of discussion that I had to put lotion on to keep from burning. They didn't know that. It's just simple things. You see the cultural differences, right? And by the way, the entire time I was there, I saw nobody who looked like me. Not one person. Whether it was in Abidjan or anywhere else. I was the only white person I saw the entire time. So you see what they see all the time, right? Anyway, they hosted me for lunch, and they gave me a smaller fish. I was thankful for it. At this point, I was ready to puke out fish. They gave me a smaller fish. I was like, great, this is good. Now, the funny story, this is where I go too long. Funny story is they love spicy food. I like spicy food, but they love spicy food. They got this spice that'll just knock your socks off. I love it. I've had it before. I love it. And so they give me this, and they're all like scooping the spice onto their stuff. And I said, where's my spice? Where's mine at? And they're like, do you want it? I said, yeah, I want it. They had hid it from me. Because it's so hot, they didn't want me to accidentally get it. I said, no, give it. So I spooned out like a lot. And they're just like, you be careful. And I eat it, no problem. And they're like, and then it became another topic of discussion. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, they're impressed that white people can eat spice. They didn't know that. Okay, good. So my little fish, I finished it. I was good. And they said, oh, there's another one for you. No, please. I don't want to be rude. I'm there as their guest. So I had to eat a second fish. Yeah, I had enough fish to last my lifetime while I was there. I love fish, but that was enough. So that's out in the east area. Now we go north, up to Bonguano and Batu. We take a bus up to Mbatu, got the fun bus experience again, get up to Mbatu, and then we take a taxi out to Bonguano, which is further away, and we met Landry Kofi. He's a preacher. Oh, wrong thing. He's a preacher who leads 2 different churches up in the Bonguano area. So we had lunch. Jerome says, would you like meat? I said, please, yes, anything other than fish. Next thing you know, I had that set down in front of me. You zoom in on that? Yeah. What does that look like to you? Like, can we find a cow or something around here? That's a delicacy. It's bush meat. It's called a grass cutter. Think like groundhog. And they gave me the head. They said, that is the best piece. You notice the theme here, though, right? They're giving me the biggest portions. They're very poor that they're giving me stuff that they're not even eating. They gave me the head, which is the best piece. I eat a lot of stuff. I do. I eat a lot of stuff. But they put this down in front of me, and my first thought was, how do I even eat this? I don't know. And they eat with their hands, so I was eating with my hands all the time. For some reason, I didn't gather. We do this. Now think about it. If you get a chicken breast, what do you do? Or a chicken leg, what do you do? Right? You pick it up and you start chowing on it. All right. For some reason, that thought didn't enter my mind here. And I'm like trying to cut at something, but I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to offend them. They gave me the best piece, so I have to eat it. In some ways, I'm representing Christ here, right? So I'm like trying to eat it, and it's just, I don't know. It's tough, whatever. And they're like, you don't have to eat that. I'm like, Jerome, I give this to you as a gift. And they got me a different piece. I still ate the grass cutter, but it was a different piece. I couldn't figure out how to eat it. And then I watched Jerome. Man, he just went to town on it. He chewed it up. He picked it up. It was sucking the bones, everything. By the time it was done, it was just a pile of bones. And he ate everything in that head. I'm like, well, I guess I could have done that. But please, a cow next time, something. Yeah. So yeah, I had that experience. I was ready for Adike Poisson after that. Anyway, so then we went back down to Mbato and met with more church leaders. Again, same thing. I had my message to give to them. We spoke. I tried my best with French. And this is the church leaders. So each one has their own church. By the time we were done, I think I met with like 20, 25 different church leaders across the regions. Now let me take you on a quick adventure. Our bus ride back to Abidjan. So it took us 3 hours, about 2 hours to get up there. So I said, all right, we're done. We're done with this meeting. And I said, all right, we're going, right? And he said, yes. And we start walking out this road that is going to nowhere. I'm like, why aren't we going to the bus station? He goes, buses are done. They stopped running. Okay, we could have done our meeting earlier and met the bus. No buses back to Abidjan. Now we got to figure out how to get there. And he says, we take a taxi. Okay. So we walk out this desolate road, and we're standing out there, and we're just standing there, at least 15 minutes just waiting. Finally, this dude pulls up in a hatchback sedan that looks like it's on his last leg. Wheels about to fall off, whatever. He says, we get in, this is our ride. Okay. I'm trusting you on this one, Jerm. I don't know, but this is what he does, all right? So we get in this car, and there's no shocks in it. And this road is dirt, pothole filled, crusted, and this dude takes off at 100 miles an hour, flying down this road. And I don't think he had any treads. His car was swerving like this. And every once in a while, he sees somebody on the side of the road and needs a road. So he pulls over, packs him. So at this point, we got 3 people in the back seat, 1 in the front seat. This dude's car is going to fall apart. It's shaking. I'm looking at his panel to see how fast he's going. It's all broken. There's nothing working in this car. And he pulls over, talks to some people, and guy gets into the front seat. Okay, now we got 2 in the front seat, us 3 in the back seat, and it's a hatchback. Takes off getting 100 miles an hour, swerving like this around the potholes. Deanna got to experience this real time because I was dying, literally. I'm like, this is it. God, you're calling me home right now, I can tell. Because this car, 100 miles an hour, if he hits a pothole, does anything wrong, we're flipping. I mean, no kidding. I'm being serious here. We are flipping this car if he does anything wrong. Thankfully, he is the most professional driver I've ever seen in my life because he knew where every pothole was, everything. So he pulls over, gets somebody to pick up somebody else. Like, wait, we got 3 here, 2 here. He's trying to convince these guys to climb into the back seat with us and just figure out how to get 5 people, 2 guys, 5 people into the back seat with 2 in the front. And his car is rattling, about to fall apart. And we're like, no, we ain't doing this. Hatch goes up, 2 guys pull in the hatch. Hatch still open, and the guy takes off. 100 miles an hour, hatch is open, 2 guys in the back, and we're just like, all right, God, I'm ready. And I'm texting Deanna and my kids going, this is it. This is the last message you're ever getting from me because I'm dying in this car. I didn't, obviously. We made it. And we get there, and Jerm says, now you got the true African experience. But we didn't go to Abidjan. We went to some other town up north that was on some main road that I thought a bus was supposed to be there, is what he told me, but there was no bus. He's just hitching a ride from it that we go down to Abidjan. And he comes over and he says, we have our bus. I said, great, as long as it's not that car again. And that's our bus, a palm hauler. That thing was full of palm, and the dude's putting us in his cab. And we're sitting in the back of the cab. This is us in that car for 3 hours to Abidjan. Now, I thought these things would be kind of smooth. But I drive a truck. We got a trailer. You drive a trailer. Sometimes you get that bounce. That thing bounced more than I can imagine. I would have thought it was smooth. It was like this ride all the way back to Abidjan in this thing. 3 hours. My body was wrecked by the time we got there. But I got the African experience, I guess. So the next day, I didn't want to move. I woke up. We were supposed to meet more church leaders. And I was like, I'm done. I think I laid in that bed till 2 o'clock in the afternoon because I just couldn't move after that experience. My body was done. And then in the evening, I got to get out of here. I love zoos, so I went to the Abidjan Zoo. That was my break. I needed it. If you ever want the African experience, or you ever ask, do you want the true African experience? Say no. Don't do it. But I experienced that. Jerm did that. That's how he travels around. He doesn't do cars and do that. That's how he travels around. So I said, Jerm, I want to go to Krenjabu. He's like, what do you know about Krenjabu? I said, it's capital of Saint-Louis, and it's where your wife's from. He said, all right, we go to Krenjabu. He actually wanted to take me out to another area to see where he's planting these churches. But we get to Krenjabu, we're just going to see it, and next thing you know, we're spending 3 hours for a meeting with the king. I said, would the king met with you if you were here? He's like, nope. I said, why do you meet with us? He said, because you're white. I said, okay, I can live with that. But en route out that way, I got to meet another church leader who was actually en route to Ghana. And one thing I forgot to say about Prudence, if you remember Prudence from the first meeting, that was his last day in Abidjan. He actually was going out west to the to the Muslim areas, the Muslim tribes out there, to do his own mission trip out west, Ivory Coast. So they're doing their own thing there too. So I'd already talked about Cringeaboo, so skip to the next day. Final night. Jerm and Felicity wanted to host me for dinner. And so by this point, I'd figured out how to hail the taxis myself and even speak to French and talk to them. I actually made it to the zoo and back on my own. Jerm was very concerned that I was going to get lost and somewhere else, but I made it there and back. So I flagged down a taxi and made the hour-and-a-half trip up there or so. But the final night, so the seminar that Jerm had planned had fallen apart. They couldn't come because it was approaching Easter and they all had to do their own thing. So I meant to say this early on, but that whole seminar kind of fell apart. So it actually worked out better as God lays things out, because that would have had me in one location meeting all these people. But because that didn't work out, it pushed us out into the actual areas where they're at. So I think that's something God planned. I wouldn't have planned it, not especially that car ride. So they wanted to host me for dinner, and then this is something I don't think many of us would do either. They were going to have an all-night prayer vigil. So I said, is this common? Why can't you do it during the day? And he said, because we need to lose sleep as sacrifice. So sometimes we talk about fasting. They fast at times, but they also fast and sleep and hold these prayer vigils all night. And so I got to attend the prayer vigil all night. It started at 10 o'clock at night, and they were going till sunrise to do this. And this is at the prayer vigil. Jerm is preaching, speaking to him. I got to get up and speak to him too. And so that's the idea of coming in at 9, 10 o'clock at night, all night. There was singing, there was praying, there was speaking, everything going on, all night long till the next morning. And they do that periodically. I've never in the United States heard anybody doing that. Heard sleepovers, you're playing or sleeping, not literally come in this room and let's spend from 9, 10 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning just praying and doing this right here. That's what we did the final night. And when I talk about how the poorness, this is where Jerm and Felicity live. It's actually next to a shop. It looks like it really needs to be renovated, and it does, but that's where they live because it's all they can afford. But they're dedicated to their mission. And speaking of the mission, so this is what Jerm does. He goes out, uses surveys. People own land. He goes out, does a survey for them. He plots it out, does all that, and then as payment, the owner gives him plots. So some of them, they give him like actual little section plots. Now, when you see this, don't think they're building these big houses on. They're going to section off, sell off these plots of land for ownership. And then they'll build little shacks on them to live. But within each one of them, he's given land to build a church and like an orphanage school type thing, an education center. And then he's also given some of the plots to sell to help raise money. That's his income that he lives off of. He does some other things to get money, but again, they're living on less than $1,000 a month total every month. But as payment, this is his mission. He goes out and he does this. Now, I had a vision. I didn't know where these places were, so this is one of them here. It's just uncleared jungle. Some of them have trees, other stuff's going to clear. The owner's going to do that. But I'm standing on a main road right now. I know real estate. If you know me, you know I know real estate. And I'm standing on the main road, that paved road that runs through, and right here is this land. When I turn around, there's a swimming pool. It's the only swimming pool I saw in the entire, it's hot there. It's hot. That's the only swimming pool I saw. People come to it. And across the street is this land where he is going to build this, where they're going to build this area and build a church next to it. And that's how each one of these areas are. So they're all kind of up in here. And he's got, right now he's got 4 different areas. And so the money that we provide is going to help build these churches eventually. I got a kick out of this. All week, I don't know how these ladies do it, but it's impressive. There's bus stations everywhere. They're just walking around. I saw this in pictures. You see it in pictures, but I actually see them doing it. That's what cracked me up, that little girl doing it. And they literally just, some of them have, look at this one. Where's it at? Look how tall that's stacked up. So some of them, they're walking around selling stuff. Yeah, look at that. So she's selling these things. Now imagine you got full use of your hands. Anyway, I ended up having this daily thing of like, which lady wins today? Based on who I saw. Which one's carrying the most stuff? It's kind of funny. But most impressive, zoom in on this one. Right here. So out at Suame, Jerm has a little tiny place that he can sleep at. And we're sitting there. He takes me there, and we're sitting there. And this girl comes walking up. This is a well that there's a village next to this little plot of land. She's getting water for the village. So we get there. She's filling up this pot. You know, water's heavy. And she's filling up this pot. She gets done, and she does this magic move. I don't know what, but somehow she goes whoosh, right on her head and walks off with it. And as we're sitting there, she did it 4 times, came back 4 times and did that. I was like, man, I don't even think I could lift that pot. And somehow she got it up on her head and carries it off. Now, when the Ritzels boy went to Ghana, they built a water system. This is why. Because imagine if you could build a water system into that town instead of this lady having to do this. Who speaks French in here? Who knows French? I used to. All right, so blanc means white. That's my new nickname. Because everywhere I went, blanc, 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 because they'd never seen somebody like me before. Out in these tribal regions, I'm it. I am representing not only Christ, but the entire white population. Now, I studied science in school, and here's a truism. Every single person sitting in this room is brown. There's no white, there's no black. Everybody's brown. You believe me? Our skin color comes from melanin. Every one of us. Just based on where our origins are and everything else depends on how much concentration of melanin is in our skin. So if you're not exposed to the sun a lot, you have less melanin. Melanin is a natural sun protection. Melanin is a brown tone. I got it. I'll wrap up. Melanin is a brown tone. This is important. Melanin is a brown tone. But if you don't have a lot, you're just going to be a very, very, very light brown. If you have a lot, like they do, you're going to be a really, really, really dark brown. But we're all brown. We're all the same color. But they only see people like themselves. So everywhere I went, so this was one of the churches. This was my first experience with being blanc. This is one of the churches in Asuba that we went and visited. As I'm walking away, I hear, blanc, blanc, blanc. I'm like, Jerm's next to me. He goes, you know what they're saying? I said, what? He's like, white. I've never seen somebody like you before. He's like, let's go. I said, no. Wait. I turn around, and I go visit with these kids. And we start playing around with these kids. Because I realized in that moment who I'm really representing. And that's Christ. Because they've never seen somebody like me. What attitude am I going to have toward them? What am I going to show them? This may be the only experience they ever have in their life with somebody like me. So I said, no, Jerm, I'm going to take time and play with them. So after I did, I said, can I take a picture? Oh, yes. So then I ended up with this selfie. That's my favorite picture of this whole trip because of what it means. Same. These kids were playing soccer, football. I stopped and kicked the ball around with them. And go down to this one. This one is great. These two. So we're in Cringeaboo walking down the street. There's this Michael Jackson monument thing that you saw a picture. I didn't point it out, but it was up there. It looked like a little concrete thing. And we're walking down the street. And I didn't really hear him. I heard something, and Jerome said, did you hear them? I said, no. They said, Blanc, come here. And I was like, do they want me to go there? The church says, yeah, but we don't have time. We got to get to normal, and we got to do all this type stuff. So we don't have time to go there. And I stopped. I said, Jerm, I want to go back there. He's like, no, we don't have time. Come. I said, no, I'm going. He keeps walking. I said, I'm going. I turned around and walked back, made him follow me back there. So I get back there. Their eyes lit up. They're excited, that I came back. They've never seen something like me either. One of them came up and rubbed my arm. Just felt it. They said, your skin is so pretty. I'm like, I guess, But I spent time with them because, I knew I recognized the position that God had put me in as representing Christ in that moment. And what am I going to show? If I say, I don't have time for you, that's what they're going to see. What are they going to think about? Everybody else, right? That's not like them. And this lady is giving pedicures. She begged me. She was going to stop, and she begged me to let her give me a pedicure because she wanted to touch my feet. I was like, never would have imagined this. But what can we really imagine when God opens the doors to us? Unless we go through them. So this kid cracked me up. He's like, do you have a euro? I was like, Jerry's like, don't. I knew what I had in my wallet. I don't have any US dollars. Even on me now, I only have euro. This kid's like, I've never seen a euro before. Do you have a euro? Well, if you know euros, a euro is actually a coin. The $1 thing is like equivalent like a coin. But I had a €5 in me. And I'm like, sure. I pull it out and hand it to him. He was like, and all of his friends, I want one. No, you got to talk to him about that one. It's his. You want to fight him for that? So this picture actually, did I have it up here? Maybe it's a different picture. He's holding his €5. So excited that you got that. Yeah, I know. Similar picture. What a blessing to be given that experience. Truly is. I never imagined that it was going to turn out like that. I was richly rewarded by doing things like that. So my personal lessons. First of all, God calls us all to go. Regardless of where you are, regardless of what you're doing, God is calling you to go. That's what the Great Commission is, right? First word, go. Matthew 28:19. Go. Not sit, not stay here, but go. Every one of you. I don't care where you are in your life, whatever. In some way, God is calling you to go. But it's up to you whether you decide to do that. And if you do, who knows what is out there? Who knows what you're going to be rewarded with and the blessings you're going to get from it? In every action, we choose how Jesus is reflected. Doesn't matter who we're interacting with, what we're doing. We are choosing how we represent Christ every time we do something. Jerm and Felicity, truly servants of God. That was a God-inspired decision to support them. And it was proven to me. There's a lot of opportunities there to support, whether it's, look at this. That's the same well. You think that other lady was impressive? She's doing it with a baby on her back. They wrap babies around they got this swaddle thing they wrap around, they just carry the babies on their back. She's drawing water with a baby on her back. If she does the exact same move, throws that water upon her head, and that baby is still riding on with her. There's a lot of opportunities there. And so let me close with this right here. And this is what I truly learned from more than anything. And I knew this anyway, but my whole Blanc experience truly showed it. Right? No matter who we are, no matter what we look like, where we are from, what language we speak, our social status, our political beliefs, we all belong to the same human race and viewed equally by God. We are all brothers and sisters in Christ. You see my shirt? I have a whole outfit. Shorts, sandals. Deanna has one too. This is our gift from Jerm and Felicity. They spent their own money. It's custom made. I don't know how they got the sizes right, but they did. They didn't even ask. They looked at pictures of her and nailed her size perfectly. This is my Agni tribal clothes because we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, and we are Agni. Thanks for letting me go 7 minutes over.